million shillings. A passerby tender exposes the depth of rot at Kemsa. Man claims he was at the right place, the right time when he landed an 180 million shilling supplies tender at Kemsa. And actually, even when he was before the parliamentary committee, he was actually asking that they be paid speedily, because his house had been seized by the bank because of this. So, Dan, when you look at such stories and how this plays out, this is, as I've been saying on the show, corruption happening in real time. It's not a golden bag where you have to go and find who was the auditor then and who was the procurement officer. This is happening right now. Yet still, it's hard for us to go around and get to the bottom of this. What makes it so hard for economic crimes in Kenya? For people to see through to the bottom, find those culpable, and get back the money that was stolen?
You know, when you look at some of these stories, it's very sad. It's very sad that something like that can happen in a country that is at a stage of development like Kenya. As I said when we were starting, such stories make you get the feeling that we've really never wanted to fight corruption. We've not started fighting corruption yet. And as a people, I think, because that really speaks to what you are calling the ethos. How, for example, how do you reconcile that even with your conscience that somebody walking, just passing by, and he sees people, gathered somewhere, and you walk into, ask, well, what's going on here? And you walk out with a tender of billions. When we have a law that prescribes really how those tenders are supposed to be awarded. And this, for me, goes in to demonstrate that we've reached a level where, as a country or as a people, we've accepted corruption. And really, we're speaking with one side of the mouth saying that, look, we are fighting corruption, we hate corruption, yet the truth is that we really don't hate corruption that much. You see, if I might echo what my friend has just said, you do not buy a tuk-tuk and put it on the road and then you expect it to perform as a Mercedes-Benz. It's either a tuk-tuk or a Mercedes-Benz. Mm-hmm. When you elect a corrupt individual and put him in office, you do not expect that person to stop being corrupt the moment you put them in office. They'll still be corrupt because that is who they are. And so I think as a people, when we are, as you said, I think the term of the president is almost done. We're looking at about 17 months remaining. And as a people, I think we're very serious about this fight against corruption. For me, one of the things we really need to look at seriously is the people that we elect into offices, because these are the people who really lead public debates and come up with the policies that guide us. When I come to you as a candidate and I tell you, look, I have trucks of water, I'll give you water when you don't have water. I line you up and give you 1,000 bob each. I come in big cars, do you question where I get the money to give this, to do all this kind of philanthropy that I do? I think as a people, if we get to that level that we're able to question the source of the wealth of our political candidates before we elect them, then that would be a big step for me in terms of our war against corruption. Okay. We need to get the right people in political offices for us to get to the bottom of this war.
Millie, there's a tweet that has come in from James Kajembe. It says, the whole system is an absolute joke. Our bodies that fight graft are not independent. They're just puppets of the political kingpins. Millie, how do we achieve true independence of these bodies? Because at this particular point in time, the Kenyans still have this perception that there's not enough latitude for them to operate. They're not independent. How do we achieve that?
I lost you for a minute, Jeff. Maybe if you can come again. Okay,
sure thing. I'm asking, there's a tweet that has come in concerning the independence of the bodies that fight corruption. And the tweet was talking about the fact that they are lacking this independence. How do we solve this particular problem?
We already began the journey of solving that problem. I think by the fact that we moved the anti-corruption body from a statutory law to the constitution was a plus. Now, we need to strengthen it further. And that will come in the mode of appointment, for example, in the caliber of persons that we have there, including the security of resources that are allocated to that particular office, and the security that is given to the holders of that office at the time when they are in office to be able to conduct, and of course immediately thereafter as well. And I think that if we are able to do that, then people can have the freedom and the leeway to be able to execute their tasks as that. I remember one of the tweets you read where someone was saying we need to see something from the current body, which is true. People have even forgotten that we have an anti-corruption body. We only talk about the DCI and the DPP, because when was the last time we heard about them? But what did we expect when at the helm of it, we brought in the church? And when the church came in, started by telling us that the best thing was to deal with the ethos, with us, the individual, which is, of course, what they know best and where they think that the biggest problem lies. So if we bring in people who will believe in enforcement as a key tool of fighting the vices in society, then perhaps we will be able to get this journey back on track. Because remember that at the end of the day, the DCI, the DPP is independent, but the DPP will only act on cases that have been investigated by the DCI. And the DCI still remains under the police. And we know that with the security amendments that we went through in the country, we have returned the police solidly under the CS. Therefore, the independence of the police per se is something that we still continue to question to date, because right now they cannot act without the political influence because they're directly under the CS. So if we are able to have this other body independent enough, that is the anti-corruption body, independent enough and resourced enough, because you must have resources to be able to go and do that investigation. We are not interested in an anti-corruption body that will be seen chasing police officers who are standing at a car by the road, stopping cars, and then they feel that that is something that is very good and we should give them kudos for that. We want an anti-corruption body that will be able to do intricate and complex investigations around crimes, that will work with the people who are tracing assets in the country, to be able to trace assets and link them to certain people and be able to show us that this public servant, this is what they declared when they were starting office. These are the resources they have. These are the things that happened under them. This is the linkages. These are the things we've been able to see people around them suddenly getting. These are the weird 22 or 21-year-olds who suddenly they're giving tenders saying that they're promoting youth. And we know that those people are linked to their children or to so and so. We want that kind of investigation. Then we will know that our resources are being used. So I think that much as, yes, we do have a constitutional body in place, it seems not to have enough power. And of course, the leadership there must be held to account. But even as we say this, Jeff, where is the outrage? The KEMSA story that you're talking about of last week, we have made it a joke. We are laughing. We are very busy. Now people are saying that the next place to walk outside may be TSC because schools are reopening and there may be tenders there. I mean, where is the outrage? Where are Kenyans protesting? I know that Matiang'i may not allow us to do so. Where are Kenyans out there protesting, making noise and saying that this is not on? Instead, you find we think it is the order of the day and we look for the next thing. It is like when the government deals were being very dirty and everybody was saying we must all go and do procurement courses. So again, the problem goes back to the ethos and the values we have as a people. Where is the outrage? I think there are very few people I've talked to since last week who are disgusted and horrified by what they're hearing. Most of us are amused because we tolerate it. It is something that we have accepted as part of our norms.
Okay, we have a couple of more messages coming in. Let's see if we have any outrage there as well. Of course, the WhatsApp number is at the bottom of the screen. You can also get me at I am Jeff Mote or at K24TV. Of course, we're talking about what is a weak link as far as corruption is concerned. Let's have that up on screen. Fight against corruption in almost at sector scandals in higher offices is only a few. In my own observations, judiciary office is the major shield in court advocating for corrupt personnel. There's only conflict of interest between the political sector and the judiciary. That's Wilson Ngetich from Bomet. Let's have another message. Jeff, in Kenya, we are in a limbo of corruption. It's now gotten to a point of competition on who is more corrupt. On this particular one, who is corrupt, who is corrupter, and who is corruptest. That's King O from Tharakanithi. King O, I hear you on that. Another message we have. Jeff, this issue of corruption is cancer to our economy and everybody will be affected badly. Can you imagine files for some companies involved in cancer scam disappeared in the registrar of companies? This scandal is bigger than passers-bys winning tenders of millions and medical staff unable to get their salaries and allowances. Can you imagine? Oliver, some people think that, okay, fine, the president is limited with what he can do, but can he actually make sure that a couple of big corruption cases are dealt with? If it's a mobile health clinics, if it's KEMSA that we are seeing, and from there, create that momentum so that moving forward, it doesn't seem as appealing trying to get into office in order to pilfer from state coffers. Just do that. Take two cases that are monumental, deal with those, the next person will come and take over from there.
I think that is easily said than done. The president can do all that, but remember, we will come here and analyze and say the president is acting without power. Where does he derive the power to do so? But if I were to be given a chance to be in some of these institutions, I will change tact from being much about the arrest to being much about repossessing stolen wealth. And two, don't make it about arresting individuals. Make it about the pain of people losing everything they have gathered in their lifetime. So that if today Jeff steals 10 million, I will be so much on your assets that you, by the time I'm done with you, you have nothing. Mm-hmm. We repossess and repossess until the last coin. So that the thought that somebody can do a corrupt deal is so painful on them. But look at what we do. You take me to court, I pay I am bailed out, I come here, my kids are on holiday. I might be here just discussing politics, but my kids are on holiday. Mm-hmm. Have we tried to cap the proceeds of corruption? No. Can we do much? Yes. Have we done something? I don't think so, that we can much being footnoted. But when it comes to institutions, I think, as opposed to very many people, I am against DCI working on corruption cases because I have experienced it. I am a regular client there. DCI is under the stronghold of politicians. There is so much phone calls towards that direction. But when you have a case in a place like EACC, for example, the established mechanisms around there run on their own. They might take long, but they do something. Mm-hmm. But if we were to go, or the other thing is this, if we were to leave DCI to do crimes, let's make it independent. Let's remove it from the stronghold of police so that the person, the director of criminal investigations is an independent office, just the same way we have the DPP. Mm-hmm. So that what the DPP does is just to make sure that what has been done has the threshold in court. Mm-hmm. But as opposed to this now, you know, one, there is a fallacy here. Look at the rank of Kinoti in the police. He ranks, I think, fourth after several people. After the two DIGs, and then there are those deputy DIGs, and then he comes in there. That brings an operational problem in terms of decision making, because which means at times the decisions to be taken have to be taken at the level of the Inspector General. So the considerations are so much. Right. But if you are to make this an independent office, he will be able to act on those things independently without consulting any other person. So that's why I'm saying there is so much infrastructure that needs to be worked out around how we fight corruption, and much of it is not in the law. Much of it is in us as Kenyans. We have corruption in our DNA. We believe that if, look at, as a way of finality, Jeff, if today the three of us worked in a government office and you drive a Datsun for 10 years, what will people say in your shopping center? Huyu ni mjinga alishindwa na mambo. What does that mean? They say you did not steal enough.
They were expecting you to steal.
Yes. So with that is where we begin from. Even when how we socialize our kids. When I send you to the shop the first, the second time, the third time, I tell you kutabaki shilingi 50 kula peremende. That is how we corrupt these people. So from there, a kid believes that for me to do something effective, there must be something that will initiate my doing that.
Dan, when you speak about the infrastructure put in place to fight corruption, what the BBI is also, putting forth is the fact that, okay, fine, let's have the National Intelligence Service also in this fight to make sure that if it's intel gathering that's needed, it's done in a much better way. Do you feel that's probably what the DCI would need in order to have watertight cases by the time they take into the DPP's office?
Yeah, I also believe that the DCI is not given that a strong infrastructure. Infrastructure strong enough to deal with the kind of cases, economic crime cases that are presented to them. But having said that, I think the involvement of NIS would perhaps be an improvement in what we have. But also, I think one important thing that the BBI has proposed that would also help in this is perhaps limiting. You see, like in election cases, we have time limits that within this time, this case must be finished and dusted.
Right.
And I think we've seen in the last 2 elections, that has really worked out well. And previously, we had occasions where people would delay those cases. Then, if we do that with corruption cases, then perhaps we would help the judiciary in terms of, speeding up these cases. But you see, sometimes we blame our institutions. I've seen some of the people commenting that the judiciary is the weak link because a case takes 4 years, 5 years to be decided. If we were to set a timer for these cases, say within 6 months or within 12 months, a case must be heard and determined, and then we give the judiciary the resources to do that, then I think, for me, that would be a very big step in terms of fighting against corruption. So much as we talk about the individuals, I think we also need to strengthen the institutions in terms of resources. We need to strengthen the institutions in terms of giving them the necessary independence that is required. And then we must, as a country, I think we must also stop this, back and forth between institutions. The ODP, Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions must work hand in hand with the judiciary for us to see these convictions. So they must listen to the concerns of the judiciary, just as the judiciary must listen to the concerns of the ODPP if we were to win the war against corruption. Okay,
Millie, we have a minute or so before we wind this up. Short of having a great revival crusade across the country to change the spirits and the ethos of Kenyans in this particular regard, what's feasible between now and 2022 as far as matters fighting corruption is concerned?
I think that there's still hope because when we have conversations going on like this, kudos to the station for having this as a key discussion as we begin the week. I think that when we have conversations like this going on, it may just have trickle-down effects. You find that people begin to talk about it, continue to talk about it, and talk about it from different perspectives. And therefore, whether BBI brings the proposed changes or does not, the conversation will already be ongoing. And chances are that come 2022, when we have, because we'll definitely have a new president, even though the party may be the same or may not be the same, then we will be able to have the new people coming into office who may come in with a difference, come in with the promise. Remember, for many years in Kenya, we had people coming in with the promise of constitutional change. If we keep this agenda going until 2022, we know that many people may come in with an agenda of change in as far as corruption is concerned. And that may just be some hope for the country.
Okay, I think that's the note on where we leave this particular conversation at this point in time. Thank you so much, Millie, for making time to be on the show this morning. There's a tweet that's coming before I let you all go. Francis Mugo, EACC Kenya, commissioners should just resign. They only know how to arrest police officers on the roads. But what about the big fish? KEMSA scandal is not a joke yet. We still can't find even the directors who got billions of shillings worth of tenders. This is where we need to start. Okay, Francis, I hear you on that. James Okwoyo, you wanted the panel to speak on the Star headline, BBI shutting eyes to audit calling for fewer legislators. We'll have that conversation later on in the week. But that's where we wrap it up. Oliver Karori, thank you so much for being on the show this morning. Asante sana. Dana Church, thank you so much for making time to be on the show as well. And joining the conversation on Skype, Millie Luanga, thank you so much for being on the show. Asante sana. Many thanks. That's where we leave it as far as our show is concerned. We take a short break right now. We are back on the other side as we get interactive. This is KT24 This Morning. Don't go too far.